Oh my gosh.
Yeah, see, told you. I warned you it was a difficult question.
Welcome to the Exploring Washington State podcast. Here's your host, Scott Cowan.
So my guest today is Chris Klimecky. He's got a story about a jacket that we're going to get to in a little bit. Just that's the placeholder to remind me to ask you, Chris.
Yeah, that's the kickoff. Right on.
First off, thanks for making some time to be on the show, and welcome. And what I'd like to do is
thank you, Scott.
I'd like to kick it over to you and say, in 30 words or less, give us your backstory.
30 words or less. Okay. Musician since very young, video game producer as profession and day job. And I have a family here in Kirkland, where I also run a nonprofit called Songwriters in Seattle, which, all sort of forms into this life. I try to make it all work.
That's awesome. So, well, let's jump in. How did you get started in music? What was your introduction? And when did you find out that this was a path that was going to be good for you?
Yeah. Well, my mom is a symphonic violinist, and she got my brother and I both started on violin very early, probably 5-6 years old, lessons, the whole thing. That lasted not even through elementary school. I was like, I'm done with this. Wasn't very good at it. Didn't really like it, etc. But it was a seed, And what I found when I turned to guitar in the 5th grade or so. So what is that? 11, 12-ish. Turned to guitar. Really liked it. Found that I already had a fret hand, already had, enough music background. Like I could accelerate really fast on guitar, and really fell in love with the guitar quickly. What really pushed that, perfect timing, just happened to cross paths with Van Halen's 1984 at that tender young age, and just hearing Ed go, I was addicted. I was just like, that's it. And so 5th, 6th grade, I was just like, that's what I wanted to do. Locked in, started songwriting early. Songwriting and recording was involved probably, 6th, 7th grade, started to come into the, little 4 tracks, all that kind of thing. And my brother picked up the bass. He was like, I want to do some of this too. And so we had a band, and my cousin was a drummer. Like, it was a very family thing. And we were all, it wasn't casual. It was taking lessons. It was going to school. It was learning everything about it while doing the rock and roll thing. We were into Rush and Van Halen, and we do all kinds of covers, right? Covers of the times and Pink Floyd, and got into progressive rock pretty heavily in the younger years. Yeah, that's sort of off to the races, right? Just songwriting with my brother. He really was the poet of our pair, and he would write lyrics and I would write music to that, and we'd record it, and that just became a pattern, and something that, by the time I was sort of mid high school, we had lots of recordings, lots of original songs, really, dialed into the creative thing. We both went to arts high school. So supporting the arts, being a part of this area called Interlochen up in northern Michigan, was an artistic community and school, and very famous, especially for its summer programs. And that was just part of our lives, was being in a very creative community, very, supportive of the arts, and original music and writing, recording, sort of that whole thing was just part of our lives from very early on. And so, yeah, that's sort of what kicked it off. And I've been going fast and furious ever since on that.
So I've got 3 questions regarding Van Halen.
Yeah.
So first question, did you ever get to see him live?
Yes, a couple times.
Okay.
91 and 90, must have been 95-ish.
Okay.
So Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, which was amazing. That was highlight of, I think Sammy and the gang were really at the top of their game at that point.
Mm-hmm.
That was a fantastic show. And then, unfortunately, a few years later for Balance, they were all on their way down. It's like Ed with his hip and Alex and neck brace, and sort of like saw them at their top, and then they were sort of falling apart at that point.
So since 1984 was your introduction, you're obviously younger than me because I was in high school when Van Halen 1 came out. And so before I tell you that part of the story, my next question to you about what was it about 1984 that captivated you? What was there a particular song? What was it that spoke to you?
Oh, I think it's the same thing that has stuck with me about Ed. Just the sense of wild abandon and yet complete control, tone that just makes you feel great. It just resonated. His guitar playing just resonated with me so strongly. As I think what resonates with lots of people, and has made him, such a legend. And yes, the songs were, when Panama kicks in on 1984, it's just like, another world for someone who hadn't really experienced that before. And yeah, it just sort of goes from there. So yeah, I was hooked immediately. Couldn't get enough of that record for sure. And then sort of introduced to the rest of the catalog quickly after, and latched on to Sammy. Like I'm not a like one side or the other. I think there's sort of two sides of the same coin. I think Ed evolved as much as there was any kind of Sammy influence, and that's just how he was as an artist, and really came to respect him as an artist and as an innovator. And just someone who always was going for the highest quality, and always was a huge fan and continued.
Okay. So for me, when the first Van Halen 1 came out, that was like a seismic shift in music. And I was in high school and we had a school radio station, and I found this album and I brought it in and played Eruption. And, the radio station had the broadcast, of the cafeteria. So, all of 5 people heard this.
Sure.
But it was pretty, well, it wasn't pretty. It was mind blowing to hear him play that. And then I just read the other day, at least according to this article, the backstory of that was he was tapping on the guitar, warming up before a show, before they were recorded. And they said, no, you got to record this. This is cool. All right. So my last Van Halen question for you is to put you on the spot and then I'll also answer the same question for you. So you're not going to be, out there. Of all their catalog, what's your favorite song?
Oh my God. Favorite song? Individual song?
Yep.
Wow. That is a really tough question.
Holy cow. Didn't warn you that. Yeah, no.
Yeah, that might be the hardest one of the day. And
you pass this one, it's downhill from here.
Holy cow. Panama is certainly a tough one to beat, and sort of sticks with me as so influential and so that was the one that really kicked me off. So I might have to go there, and I think as I sort of go through their catalog and even think of how they think about their catalog, or did think about their catalog, they in recent years were even like opening with Panama, or would play that on late night shows when Roth would join them. It's like so iconic. That's the one I'll go with for the
final answer.
Short answer.
So mine was DOA off Van Halen 2.
Really?
For some reason that song just, I don't know why I really, the rest of that album was meh to me, but
Interesting.
DOA
I am
was
going
my
to change
favorite.
my answer though, now that I've had an extra second to think about it. Unchained.
Okay.
Unchained is just
That's a good song.
monstrous.
Yeah.
It's that's another one they used to open with. It's just like it is so so powerful, and yet still able to throw a sense of humor in there with the breaks, and it sort of embodies a lot of what Van Halen wasn't just the tone on Fair Warning in general, but Unchained especially, just killer riff.
Well, enough about another band. Let's talk about you and your music. We just went down in the weeds on Van Halen.
Well, we'll move to Foo Fighters later, I'm sure.
Okay. Yes. So you moved to Seattle and you got involved in the Songwriters organization. What was the motivation for you to do that?
Yep.
And how's that grown over the years?
Yeah, sure. Happy to talk about Songwriters in Seattle. It's a great group that has really become a part of my life and cohort, and just a lot of great people involved with that, and just a great creative community. So I did 2 albums with the band in the 90s and did a solo album when I first came out to Seattle in the early. I think that one released in 2001. Here's the point. Right before my first son was born. Okay. So I sort of got the rest of that music sort of flushed out of me, and became focused on the new family, and all the work that goes on around that and supporting the family. And so I took a pretty hefty break from music. Had a second kid in 2005. And so by about 2007 or so, my wife was like, "You got to get out of the house, man. Like, do you want to play some music? What are you doing?" And sort of coming out of the haze of early fatherhood, and 2 little ones running around the house at that point. She was like, have you looked at like Meetup? What are other musicians doing around Seattle? Like, she had gotten into some photography groups on Meetup and was sort of a fan of Meetup. And I was like, I'll go take a look, see if there's anything for songwriters. I'm like, this is Seattle. There's got to be musicians around here who are, doing groups and have support, for songwriters that just want to get together and talk creatively. And I went out on Meetup, and kind of good timing, brand new group, Songwriters in Seattle. Only, I think at that time, less than 100 people had joined, sort of switching owners around. I was like, I'll go check this out. And that was spring of 2008. Then the group had just started in late 2007. So I come in March, and a new owner of the group had just started, Jeff Hatch. It was his name, and he was just a hobbyist songwriter. Had made a new record, and wanted to promote it, and just wanted to see what was going on around Seattle. And we got together and started. He started doing monthly meetups at the Alibi Room at Pike Place Market, and that became our sort of home base for a little while. And people would come in and go. And that's when Juan started showing up a little bit, and, just sort of poking his head in, and what's with the Songwriters group. And a few of us sort of returned month after month to just sort of feel it out and see and talk about what else was going on in the Seattle scene for songwriting, for original music. And, it really took off from there. We started doing some showcases. We were like, we should promote this a little bit, see if we can get other people into the mix. It was, that kind of thing for a couple of years. And we were like, there's something here. People really latched onto it, and we attracted people from all over, and it was exciting. And we had more and more showcases and more events. And I told Jeff, like, I really want to put some effort into this and want to take it over and lead it. And he had his own family situation, and his record that he had made had sort of passed its time. And it's like, yeah, you go ahead and take it. So I ran with it and turned it into a actual 501c3 nonprofit, so we could raise a little money and have some actual support financially and otherwise, and people feeling like it's a safe place to come and be trusted. There's a bit of credibility that comes with that, and trust. And yeah, now we're over 4,000 members. Not all of those are active, of course. It's like a couple hundred at any given time. We've survived just fine through the pandemic doing online events, but we're an event. We like getting together and in a number of different ways, and it's about connection and support in the creative community, all styles. We get all kinds of interesting music coming in, but we want people to write. There's a very cultural thing, I think, to music as the art form, the creative art form. There's lots of people doing cover bands and all that, and the music industry is sort of a different thing, right? And people who are in the business of music, again, there's lots of different parts of that going on. So we're really focused on the art of it. That's the songwriting and what does that mean, and what does that mean in the community and for the community to have the support of other musicians, because there's not really an industry for that terribly well. I mean, there's a lot of details there that I'm sort of skipping over, but it doesn't have the infrastructure, right? The music industry doesn't have the infrastructure for developing original talent like it used to.
So does the group then help? Do you guys provide like mentoring or training to somebody who's a new songwriter who's looking for, feedback, gentle feedback, maybe, because, you don't want somebody to come and tear it apart, if you will, but
yeah, in fact, we have different levels of critique sessions. We have, casual critique events. We have more formal critique events. We have themed songwriting. We have just straight educational, here's the topic, come and see, we'll bring in, different presenters and professionals from the local industry, even traveling, folks who are on tour, we'll bring them in and have them talk about a songwriting topic, anything from sort of the nitty gritty, writing lyrics, right? Music theory and song structure to, stage presence, just vocal technique, all kinds of topics, right? And then, of course, performance itself. We have showcases and open mics. And we're not big into that. There's already like a huge open mic community that sort of runs itself, and places have their own open mics. So we're not huge on that part, but we do want to give some opportunities to our members where we can to especially the showcases. I'm a big fan of the showcases because an open mic, you maybe get like 2 songs for a whole 3-hour night. For me, I barely get warmed up with a couple of songs. I'm just getting going and you're done. So I like getting 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour at least to play. And sometimes we do bands, sometimes we do solo acoustic stuff. But yeah, that's sort of the general shape of the organization.
So you said you had approximately 4,000 members. Not all of them are active, but that's a lot of people. To my way of thinking, that's a lot of folks that are at least curious about songwriting. We'll start it there, and all the way up to professionally dedicated to the craft of songwriting. What do you think the future holds? I mean, I hate, I say this almost every episode, but I'm so tired of this pandemic, just because it's like, it's, if I hear the word pivot again, or if I say that every flipping episode, it's like, oh, we pivoted. But so it's hard to ask this question, but what do you think you want, and the group, what do they want the future to look like? And that's a little convoluted right now, because at the time of recording,
No, I
Live.
think it's a good question. We're always thinking about sort of where is the group headed. And right before the pandemic, we had our first weekend retreat, for example, right? Sort of expanding on people getting together and having a little more in-depth time to actually write together, get to really know and maybe form partnerships to write things like that. And we want to get back to that. There's no doubt that we have really, we were doing over 10 events every month live, right? Getting together. Yeah, we had a lot going on. This isn't just like a one-time per month thing. Like, yeah, this is a lot of events. We were up to 15 or more at different points per month.
Literally every other day, if you averaged it out. Wow, that is
exactly.
A lot of.
Yeah, we had a lot of events going on, and so there are different people who are attracted to different parts of that, right? So that's another thing about the 4,000. It's like not everyone comes to every event. That's not even the point of it, right? There's different times, there's different topics, et cetera, et cetera. So we want to get back to the live events. There's no doubt about that. But the online, the real getting comfortable with online has opened up a lot of doors, not just for the types of events, but of those 4,000, we have discovered there are many people outside of Seattle who are a part of the group and have really enjoyed being part of it. We've got people from India, Australia, the UK, Canada, who have joined us for the online events and have really become regular faces, just like anyone else who is local. And that has been really nice. That's something we want to continue and grow. And invite other songwriting associations across the country. There's Dallas, there's San Diego, there's a number that I'm aware of and connected to, and had sort of casual contact previously, but I think this is a real opportunity to sort of bring others into the fold and really have some cross-pollination of just learning and what's going on, and people who are doing tours, okay, they can connect to these other markets and actually be able to put that together with other people, like-minded folks and folks they just connect with for style and whatnot. So there's a real opportunity there. Longer term, we have big dreams, big dreams, Scott. Part of the 501c3 funding that we're trying to both save up for and look for opportunities for is we'd love to have a home base, so to speak, at some point, sort of like what Vera Project or the Recording Academy have, a spot where people can actually go, something that's maybe, it could be its own like coffee house and recording shop, right? That has a couple of rooms and one for seminars. Like there's sort of a ideal dream, right? And then there's what kind of facilities might actually fit that kind of thing. But yeah, there are big dreams to have a community center, basically, that is sort of art is welcome here, and really play it up as a spot where musicians can come express themselves, and audience members, be they other musicians or just fans of music, want to hear something interesting, new, but original, and really supporting the local artistic community. That's sort of the big dream.
Well, I mean, I've never ever heard anyone suggest that music and coffee go together, so that's a shock to me. Right. But boy, let's take two things that Seattle's well known for, music and coffee, and mash them together, and that just sounds amazing to me.
There are a lot of nice coffee houses that have music, so it's not like that particular piece is unique, original, but I think putting all the pieces together in terms of really being a center of where artists can go, can not only drop in and play music, but we can have these educational locations, because right now we sort of are all over whatever space we can rent, beg, or borrow, right, to do these events. To actually have a home base where we can have events where people can gather, we can do these seminars, we can do these critique sessions, we can just schedule, maybe even have recording time and different writing rooms and tools, right? I have actual, writing tools, maybe some computer setups with Master Writer. I think, things like that where folks wouldn't necessarily have that on their own, right? And it's so easy for songwriters, especially individuals, people who aren't in a band collaborating already, to be very isolated, isolated, just sitting in front of the computer and writing, or just sitting in a bedroom with a guitar, whatever, piano, and just doing their thing, and like not actually be able to have any outlet either for themselves creatively, collaboratively, or to express that music, share that music out into the world. So having that, having this group be an opportunity for that, it grows artists like you wouldn't believe. We've had people come in who are not only, fairly beginner, some who aren't beginner, but have never actually done that sharing. They come in like that, haven't played live or anything, and have over a couple of years of being with the group, are like top performers, and writing and have an album out, and just blossom. That's amazing to see. And it's all levels that come into the group, right? And take off, some sort of graduate, right, and actually have it really be their professional calling. We have some professionals and touring musicians who drop in at different times as well, and just sort of get what they need out of that support, and sort of connect with artists again. That's an important thing that I'm not sure gets the attention that that it may deserve.
One of the things that I find interesting is about what you guys are doing, and this is applicable across any platform, if you will, but it's so easy to be connected to people electronically these days, Facebook, whatever, all these myriad of online platforms. And they work, don't get me wrong. I mean, this is, but there's something about a group that meets in person, something about a group that collaborates in person that adds a dimension that seems to be lacking to me from even the most well-run virtual gathering spot. Don't get me wrong. It's wonderful. How else would you know about a songwriter in Melbourne, let's say?
Yeah.
Right. And you might strike up a lifelong friendship with that person. But I also believe that when you meet that person for the first time, it adds this three-dimensional depth to it. You're no longer looking at, like, you and I are very two-dimensional. As we're recording this, we see each other. There's not a lot of depth here, but physical depth. But if we were in the same room, there would be a different level of connection. So the idea of you guys wanting to have a home base, coffee is my thing. So of course I'm all like, hey, do coffee. But you could have said it was going to be a pizza place, and well, look at me, pizza's like another thing of my life. But I just think that would make such a difference in somebody who is maybe a little unsure of themselves, a safe space to come out. And I can't imagine well, first off, I can't imagine myself playing an instrument, because if I look at a guitar, it goes out of tune. I love music. It does it. I can't. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But somebody who's been sitting in their on the edge of their bed with a guitar, or our garage band, and putting something together, and being able to go out and in a safe environment of like-minded people who are supportive. That's powerful to me. So I really love what you guys are doing, and I hope that the dream is successful soon.
Oh, thank you. There's almost nothing more satisfying than when someone comes to the group for the first time and it's like, caveat. I don't know about doing this. This is my, X song. It's like big caveat speech, right? And then just blows you away. Just not. You're just like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And
you had no clue,
right,
did you, kid? Or I'll say kid,
going,
but wow. Okay.
Yeah. it's like totally undiscovered and totally shy. And we've taken some of those people and like I said, sort of grown them in ways that, they never would have imagined themselves doing when they first arrived. And that's really fun. And again, all levels. I love working with folks who are experienced and able to really, provide some good examples and connections, right? A lot of it is about networking and just understanding who you can collaborate with, connect with. People have different musical goals, right? So yeah, lots of good stuff happening there over the years that I'm really, really happy about and happy to continue and hopefully continue to grow.
All right. So warning, difficult question time. And I normally I'll ask this question later in the episode, but we're going to bolt it on to the whole, because you mentioned, coffee music place. So we're going to ask you.
We'll gauge the difficulty against the Van Halen song.
Well, yeah. Okay. So if it were up to you and you alone, and it was going to be a coffee shop that had all this musical stuff there, what coffee roaster would you use?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. See, told you. I warned you. It was a difficult question. So we can reframe that question. Where do you like to go for coffee?
We have some great shops here in Kirkland. One just down the road on just south of Totem Lake here. It was Urban. What was their name? Urban Coffee. Right? It's so small and local. I kind of forget the name, but they changed here. I'm gonna actually.
You can cheat.
You can
do
a quick search so I get the names right, because these people deserve.
Because the idea of pairing music with coffee is
Urban Coffee Lounge. Urban Coffee Lounge, and then I'm gonna interrupt you just for a second, because they then changed from the Urban Coffee Lounge to something Roasters. Okay, keep going. I'm going to look for the Roasters now.
Well, it's just, this is the thing. You guys could collaborate with, I'll just throw out a crazy idea for if you really wanted to become a place of community, become a cooperative roasting place where people can come in and, roast coffee on the equipment that's there so that, so they can start their own there's a lot of these places, not a lot. There's some places, I know of one in Oakland, for example, that you can come in and rent the roasters by the hour and learn how to be.
Oh, is that right?
We'll teach you how to be a coffee roaster. So it's, you guys are helping people learn how to be songwriters. This collective is helping people be coffee roasters. Could you imagine marrying the two of those up? Although I will warn you that the smell of burnt coffee beans is really not pleasant, and that would be a bad thing for business that day. But, the idea of being this multifaceted community center might be kind of a fun thing to partner with.
I like that. Yeah. So the name of the place that has taken over the Urban Coffee Lounge is Visible Coffee Roasters.
Visible Coffee. I have not heard of that. Okay.
Visible Coffee Roasters. I think they only have one other place up in Mill Creek, which the interesting story there is our very first showcase was done up in Mill Creek at what is now this Visible Coffee Roasters place. Okay. I think at the place it was called, I'm bad with the names of stores, a decade ago, but it was the something cow.
Spotted Cow?
Spotted Cow, thank you. Yes, Spotted Cow. Yep. So that's where we did our first Songwriters in Seattle showcases, was Spotted Cow, which is sort of ice cream and coffee. Yep. And they have become Visible Coffee Roasters, and now they're, come to my neighborhood and, sort of favorite hangout place.
There you go. All right. You recently dropped, whatever the correct word is here, an album.
Yeah.
Let's talk about. Let's
excited about that one.
Let's grind the gears as we shift here, but let's talk about the new album. And because when we were talking on the phone the other day, you kind of alluded to this. It was a lengthy process. Is that a fair statement?
It was. Yes.
Okay.
lengthy process, ultimately worthwhile. But tough to get this one out the door. That's for sure. I last release was in 2012. That was solo, and look, when you're solo, and my last 3 records had been solo, so there's a certain pace you can do, and a certain decision making, right? That comes with the solo, and as I mentioned, I've got a solo EP in the works as well that's coming out soon, and it's because I can move at sort of faster pace, and it is the trade off there. It's like if this Crystal Monkey project, if you think of it as a fine wine that has aged and to be savored, and you can really sort of peel it apart, the complexity and the tones, and you enjoy it over and over again because there's really a lot there to pull apart. The solo records tend to be a little more like a shot of bourbon. It's going to hit you a little harder. It's it's going to be to taste, right? Some folks are going to be into it, and some not. It's a little rougher around the edges, perhaps. But to those who are into it, like very, very satisfying, and definitely gonna knock you off your feet a little bit. So it's harder hitting a little bit. So yeah, this Crystal Monkey aged well. We gave it a lot of loving care, and huge credit to my partners there, Rob and Mark, who just brought a lot of love to these songs and to the process, love and skill, as musicians and as folks who are into the technical side of recording and making music, and really have lifelong experience to draw from. Really, really great guys and great musicians. And I think that we really treated these songs that I wrote, probably ranging from 2013 or so is probably the oldest song on there, all the way through to the beginning of the pandemic. I'll Find You, the one that wraps the song, or wraps the album, was written right at the beginning of the pandemic. In fact, I had rushed a release of that song out solo because I was like, this pandemic is only going to be for 2 weeks, so I want to get this song out because it's still relevant and all that. Yeah, so once things started being apparent that it was going to last, Rob and Mark actually were like, we really like this song. We should Crystal Monkeyfy it, and they put their touches to it. We went back and polished it up, and it took it up a number of levels, no doubt, and that's the version that is on the record. And so all of these songs sort of have that level of care and assessment. I do guitar solos and be like, yes, it's a cool guitar solo, and Rob would be like, you gotta go do that again. That doesn't work. I'm like, what? Like, are you kidding me? That was something that, and he's right. That's the lovely part of having a little bit of that collaborative. I wouldn't even call it conflict, just feedback, right? Someone else to bounce stuff off of. As you get a different perspective. And I go back and I'd be like, all right, I can do this solo better. And I'd play the solo, and it feeds off itself, right? Because then I'd do the solo, and then I'd let that go for a little bit, and I'd go, now I'm going to throw that one away. I just, make the call myself and be like, I'm going to do it again. And so it has, again, that sort of level of care as well. And just personal reflection and assessment that we wanted a really something we could all be proud of, for the rest of our lives. Like, we could give this to anyone, be like, we are proud of this. This is cool. Again, taste, some folks may not like it, but I don't think anyone can deny that, it's pretty well made. They're good songs. We started out with 17, we cut 4 of them. So we really tried to get it to, the best of the best. And it's still, 13 songs. It's an hour long. It's really representative of I think this group and what we really wanted to attain. It hit it.
So will you guys be performing live? I mean, once again, the caveat of the times that we're in, but do you have intention for the Crystal Monkey Project to perform live? Absolutely.
And we did we got to squeeze in a CD release, an album release party in mid-July while things had calmed down. And we had scheduled some stuff here even for end of August that got canceled. So, it's that's just rolling with the times. Live is something that, we would love to play these songs live. That's a different feel, a different atmosphere. It's something that we're a little out of practice with. It's interesting. I've been performing my whole life, so it's not like stage presence is a problem or something, but they're just like sitting and practicing and rehearsing. Like those help, but there is nothing like actually being in front of an audience live. Like you got to do that over and over to really get the feel back and take that to a new level. So that's definitely a part of it. There's no doubt I enjoy the writing and recording more. So it's not like we're not planning on doing not touring, big plans for live playing, but it's something we want to add into our schedules and our mindset of how we're moving forward for sure.
So this might be a good time to circle back to the very beginning of the episode where I mentioned we were going to talk about that jacket. I know that that's not from this project, but so you've got this picture of you playing on your website. You got a Les Paul. You're wearing a jacket that I would say was inspired by Jackson Pollock.
Sure.
You said there was a story there. So what is the story of this jacket?
Yeah, the story of the jacket is in the range of 2014 to 2016 or so, 2017. I joined up with a charity group, local charity group for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation that raised money by running half marathons and taking part in big, rock and roll marathon type events, right? And did a number of those, raised a lot of money for charity. And one of them was the New Orleans half marathon. So I was down there for this run and, hanging out with the team challenge for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. And just happened upon a sort of midnight art fair market thing. I don't know what you would call it. It was midnight fair. We were out at a club. We had been watching music. We came out onto the street there in the French Quarter, and there's this great all lit up, looked like a big party, but it was an art fair, and there was a guy who lots of fashion stuff. I actually got a couple of really cool, unique art, one-off kinds of art fashion things. And this guy had just had racks of these coats that he had obviously laid on the ground and just sprayed the paint across. And this one had the team challenge colors. So the team was, of course, like, oh, you got to get that. I was trying them on. And there's the orange and blue colors for the team challenge group. So I picked it up and I was like, this is a great stage jacket. It looks great. This is great.
So that's actually paint. It's not like it's not like woven into the fabric. Somebody actually painted that.
No, it's artwork. It's the guy.
That's cool.
Did the artwork on it. Yeah.
That's very cool. All right. That is a good story. I like that. Yeah. Cause it's my wife and I went to Chicago for business / little vacation. Yeah. 3 or 4 years ago, sometime in the past. Life blurs now,
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, we're at this men's clothing store there and there was this purple paisley sports coat. And I just which is not me at all by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm like, this thing's really cool. And she's just like, not sure. So she took a picture of it and anyway, she put it on Facebook. I've never had, and it was basically, what do you guys think?
The community speaks.
Yeah. And it was so polarizing. All my friends that were musicians were like, that's the coolest thing ever. And everybody that's not musically inclined was like, oh my God, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it's like, okay. And I'm not musically, inclined. I'm an enthusiast. So I guess I'll wear it, when I'm seeing live music one of these days again.
It's a conversation piece I've found. You wear it to a party and people ask about it, of course, and it's a thing. So it's fun.
That's cool. You teased a solo project coming out, and you compared it to Bourbon.
So this is rock and roll. Just so your audience knows, this is rock and roll. It's a little bit, even the Crystal Monkey stuff. It's tiny bit on the prog side. People always say, Rush, and I'm like, it's not really Rush, but it's got a hint of that. Styx, but Foo Fighters is sort of main modern influence, I think.
Okay,
it runs the gamut. There's some keyboards in there as well, and it's rock and roll.
Yeah,
but it's composed rock and roll. I want to make that clear. It's not like bluesy Zeppelin rock and roll.
I was listening to some of the tracks and I was watching a couple of the videos, and it's got this. The reason I'm not really saying anything is I'm still trying to formulate how I want to not put my foot in my mouth about it. But prog be the easy way to hand it over to somebody.
Prog pop, maybe. I mean,
prog pop, yeah.
It's melodic. I call it melodic rock, but because it's still chorusy. It's gets stuck in your head kind of stuff. But it's big guitars. It's
But what I took away from it, in by no means a music critic at all, but what I took away from it was I was impressed with the production and the overall depth of the sound. I mean, there was a lot going on, but it wasn't chaotic. It was, I'm not a wine drinker, but I have to give you the, nod my head to you. And yeah, when people describe, big red wines, they're like, well, it's complex and it has a, mouthfeel, blah, blah, blah. And the songs I was listening to kind of evoke that sort of contemplative response versus, three chords and a snare drum.
Correct.
So we'll put a link to it below so people can check it out, and I encourage them to do so. But your solo stuff, you're going to tell me it's a little
more guitar heavy. I think I'll Find You as a song is the connective tissue. It's more in that like guitar forward, up tempo. Certainly if you're a guitar rock enthusiast, like this is going to be interesting to you. And it is of a time, I think. These are all pandemic, not necessarily pandemic related, but it's of that. I think there's a feel of like a yearning, what does the future hold is sort of a common theme of it. And it's another reason why I want to, sort of wrap this up with 5 songs, get it out as an EP, and just have it reflect sort of time capsule-ish of that feeling, and have it be still upbeat, but yearning. I think that's the feeling I'm going for, and that passion. It's got a heavier beat. There's no ballads on this one.
No ballads. Okay.
And yet it's still got, each song has its own character to it that I'm real happy with it. This touch, like, could even say like a bit Guns N' Roses, a bit Foo Fighters, a bit I don't know. It's still got the heavy harmony vocals in there. Okay. So whatever.
Did you play all the instruments on this?
So I do all the instruments on my solo stuff. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And when approximately might that be available?
Aiming for November, so that folks can have it for the holidays.
Holiday shopping season.
That's right. That's right. Not that I'm looking for big sales, but that I'd like to tie this off. I've been in a creating mode pretty heavily between the music, the videos. I mean, I've done finishing up 7 videos for the Crystal Monkey project. 4 are currently released. One coming out for You're My Star this week. So that's number 5. And then one that we did up at Verge Studios here in Bothell that was actually filmed of us. The others are more like lyric videos and stock footage, kind of evoke the feel of it. Because I can't pay for 7 live, filmed videos like that. That's it gets a little nutty. So we did one video where we actually filmed ourselves and such. And then the other 6 just represent the songs. I wanted imagery and lyrics to be out there as people consume music through visuals these days.
Absolutely.
A lot, right? And so having a solid YouTube catalog that represents the Crystal Monkey project was important for me. And I've already got 3 videos out of the 5 songs for the EP, sort of in the can, ready, waiting to go. So I've been doing a lot of this creation and getting the pieces together and what marketing I can do by myself, sort of all in one. It's too much, right? That's one of my problems with the music industry, but we can maybe get to that another time. But I've been doing it all for the past year really heavily, and I just need a break. So I'd like to get this out by November, get those videos out, have people enjoy that work, and then take a little break.
Take a break. So are you putting the videos together? You're doing that too?
Yes and no. So I'm directing them all. I have various vendors who I bring on board to do different videos depending on sort of what their style is and what I think is going to work well. And I'm sort of main feedback, and then I'll often grab them and do some final touches. That is tough to just go back and forth. Yeah, it's like there's only so much detail I'm gonna have a vendor do for a couple $100. Yeah, it's I get you're in the ballpark here. I'll take it and I go from there. So
you'll do the final mile.
I do the final mile kind of stuff.
All right. So questions I love to ask musicians. Since we're all about Washington State, so you can't go. We're not going to evoke your time back in Michigan. So we got to keep you. The last 20 years,
please.
Okay.
Last 20 years is a good show.
Favorite venue to perform at for you?
Yeah.
That you have performed at.
Yeah.
First off, that's part one of the question.
That I have performed at. It's a tough choice, even and I haven't even performed at a large. There's so many venues in the area. It's kind of crazy. So probably favorite rock venue. I really enjoyed the Nectar Lounge.
Okay,
that was a fun one. Really enjoyed playing with our friend Raymond Hayden at Auburn Avenue Theater. That was tremendous. Okay. And then the last one, I'll do top 3.
You can do top 3.
Had my 2012 album release party at the Hard Rock Cafe here in Seattle. And I wish they had a better lighting rig and sort of stage setup, but it was a lot of fun and the crowd really enjoyed that. It's an enjoyable venue.
Okay.
And they work really hard to make things sound good. So there's that. That's always appreciated.
Now I'm going to put you in the audience. Favorite venue to see music being performed at?
Yeah, probably the Moore Theater.
Okay.
Yeah, really enjoy the Moore. Loves
what is it about the
Alter Bridge had did an awesome show at the Moore. I've seen so many people at the Moore. that I almost picked venue, like who's coming to the Moore?
Okay. All right.
Go see that. Yeah. Alter Bridge was the last big show at Alter Bridge at the Moore was the last big show I saw before the lockdown. So
all right. And then since you have big dreams for the Songwriters group, what would be a stretch goal for you of a venue to play at in Washington?
Probably Triple Door. Door is most appropriate for the variety of membership that we have there. Triple Door, you can do a lot of different things in there, and yet it's still an audience. Music, the music is the center of attention.
Right. Okay.
That's about the speed that I look at. Outside of like festival stuff, I think festival opportunities are great. There was a point where we even thought we might put together our own festival, sort of like what Upstream did a few years ago. But as Upstream found out, you need Paul Allen kind of money to do such a thing.
Right.
We are not close to that. So that, in terms of far off dreams, like that one's, sort of feels a little bit further out of reach. But yeah, there's sort of a summer festival. A lot of our people play folk life. I'm not so big. I'm a rock guy, of course. So that is not as interesting. But of course, if Bumbershoot was more local. Locally focused like that, bringing back that kind of thing would be a really cool venue for a Songwriters in Seattle as well.
What about for you though? You personally, stretch goal, where would you want to play?
Oh my gosh. Wembley? I mean, no, sorry, local.
Oh, Wembley. That's a stretch goal. I'll give you that. We can't fault you for Wembley, man. Come on.
I think even a reasonable stretch goal for me would be like Neptune. I really like Neptune. I think that's a nice environment. Sounds good, feels good. Would be sort of not out of my head. It's right. At least for where I am right now. Neptune would be. It feels like completely realistic and stretch goal.
I like that venue. That's and the more is an interesting venue too. I don't think I've ever been to the Triple Door, which seems really, really strange to say.
It's very comfortable, you sort of get your table and your seats it's fun and it's really good for musicians. And that's why I like it. It's the music. Really
and what's fun about doing this and having conversations with musicians, and I ask that question, like, where do you want to play, or where, vice versa. And I will say unofficially, just counting on my fingers and toes, I think the Triple Door is in the lead as far as that.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think, it's just held by people, hold it in pretty high esteem. It's funny because, this is, it's interesting. I'll say you guys, but the guests have been fairly consistent about the Triple Door being a reference point for them. There's a venue in Spokane, the First Interstate Center, might not be the exact words, but it's branded First Interstate. And I saw Robert Plant there. And I saw John Mellencamp there.
It's a small arena, kind of.
It's about 3,000.
Okay.
But what's nice about it is, so as you can see by looking at me, and for those people that know me in real life, I'm a very small human being. Said nobody ever. I'm like 6'4", I'm 300 some pounds. I'm a big guy, and I'm always miserable going to a theater. But the First Interstate is like flying first class in an airplane. My knees don't hit the seats in front of me, and that's amazing. But what's really cool about it, as we've gotten older, is that, so we saw Mellencamp, and I don't remember exactly what time it was. Like, it was like the show ended like at 10:07, because I looked at my my phone. 10:07. And we were in the bar at the hotel across the street at 10:14.
Oh, wow.
So the Davenport Hotel has one of their hotels directly across the street from this place. We stay there. We go see music. We walk across to our hotel room. It's brilliant.
That's a cool setup.
So that's a venue that I think people from the West Side should know more about, because it's a nice sounding room. Plant, both Mellencamp and Plant sounded phenomenal in there, and they were both in their own ways interesting, good shows.
Okay, interesting way to put that. But yeah.
Well,
you don't.
Mellencamp's no, I'll just say this: Mellencamp's band was amazing, but I watched the exact same show on a Mellencamp DVD.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Exact same banter between the exact same songs. I mean, it was so very scripted.
Yep.
And it was a little in hindsight, it was a little disappointing. I went to see Robert Plant, not because I'm a Zeppelin fan, because I mean, I appreciate him, but I thought I should go see this icon before.
Yeah, legend, right? Yeah.
And I didn't really know what to expect. And I walked out there going, oh my, I would go see Robert Plant day after day after day. He was phenomenal. His band was amazing. I mean,
wow.
I mean, it was just amazing. And the venue is really, really nice. It's just comfortable. It's a nice venue.
That's cool.
Think the Paramount without all the ornate. More stripped down, not as much gingerbread, similar layout, but with bigger seats.
Okay.
So there you go. So that could be a good stretch goal for you too.
Nice.
So I always like to ask, when you're not doing your day job and you're not playing guitar, what do you like to do? What are some things around the Seattle Kirkland area that you think are worthy of sharing with our audience? Where's a cool place to hang out? How about lunch? We all eat. Where's a great place to grab lunch?
Yeah. Whenever I invite folks out to my local area for lunch, it's Nick's Grill, a little hole in all place where Nick himself will make an amazing burrito. I know it's not a Mexican place. It's Nick making amazing burritos on his grill and lots of other stuff too, but like personal, and Nick will chat with you, and it's just amazing. And, one of the best little hole in the wall local places on the east side, right? You don't usually think of those kind of spots on the east side, right? No. But yeah, I have folks out and we do Nick's Grill almost every time. Highly recommended.
Nick's Grill. All right. Yeah, you're right. I don't think, when I think of the east side, I think more of a polished, corporate type deal.
There's plenty of that. Yeah, there's some great burger places around. The Lunchbox is also right here in Totem Lake, and they do a sort of Asian inspired burger. It's a high end burger. You're like paying $20 for a burger, but it's a damn good burger.
Okay.
Look at that. Yeah. And it's different, right? You're going to get something a little different. The Box is a very cool burger place that when it's like a treat lunch, or if the company's paying for it.
Or the company's paying for it. All right. So then to kind of wrap this up, I really would, just because it's part of what you do, but you're in the video game industry, which is interesting.
Yeah. Big industry around here. It's one of the reasons we moved out here.
So it's a big industry. So I started you off, describe your musical career in 30 words or less. Let me ask you the same about the game industry. Describe that to the listener. What is it? What do you do? And
so I'm a producer. I project manager is sort of the general thought for it. And I have worked both in the trenches with dev teams, making, planning and helping to support teams, creative teams. Again, it's a great mesh of technical and creative, but helping them to create this thing, get it out the door, as well as working on the publishing side, which is actually supporting the developers from a marketing and what it actually means to get it out into the world, to actually release something. And I've worked both sides of that. It's been a roller coaster. Made some great stuff, made some lousy stuff. It's sort of comes with the territory over a 20-year career.
So it's kind of, I mean, in some ways, from the outside looking in, not being a game developer or a musician, but it's kind of similar. I mean, it's like the project is, we'll say, an album, or the project is a game title. You release it.
Yeah, it's very
smash hit, or you release it. It's a smash hit. You release it, and it was an epic failure, and hopefully not, but and you move on.
Yeah. The difference is there's way more money for the developers in the video game industry than there is for musicians in the music industry.
A few years ago, I read an article that there was actually more money in the game industry now than in the movie industry.
Correct.
So these are overly simplified questions, and in no way can you answer them completely accurately. But how long is the game development cycle on a project?
It's certainly there's lots of different games these days, right? It's smaller, like a mobile project might be 6 months at the fastest to a year. A lot of stuff that I do on like consoles or bigger, PC games like you would get on Steam, might be 2 to 3 years. I've worked on games for 5 years. Like that was an attempt. I never actually succeeded, but an attempt to be a Grand Theft Auto competitor, right? So really sprawling open world kind of stuff. Those take a long time to put together.
Once again, impossible to answer, but for, let's say, a console game, something that's going to be on the Xbox and on the shelves at Amazon and Target,
GameStop, and all that kind of thing. Yep.
GameStop, right? Team size. How many people are involved in a project?
Yeah. So that can also vary from. I've worked with a lot of teams that were in the 30 to 50 ish size, and the big ones, your Halos and Grand Theft Autos. Those are going to be a couple hundred people. Wow. The biggest teams that I've worked on have been over 100. That for that Grand Theft Auto competitor, that was over 100 folks trying to manage it, plus lots of contractors and outside teams, contributing to that. So yeah, teams get really big, and a lot of money. It's huge investments. It used to be that a big game was in the $20 to $50 million range. These days, the biggest types, which is not completely uncommon, will be over 100 million. And probably pushing beyond that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That to me is just.
But if you're going to make that kind of investment, those are the big MMOs that you hear about. Everything that started with World of Warcraft and sort of moved that all forward. Destiny and those types of things. Those have subscribers at X number of dollars per month, and they just can keep rolling and making those things bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's how you both run up those bills, but you're also able to pay for it if it is popular enough. Subscribers. Right. No, it's a subscriber world these days
absolutely. Absolutely. My kid, when he was, 10, I started him playing a game called Anarchy Online.
Sure. Yep.
And, which is still around, which is a testament to either their ingenuity or their stupidity. I can't decide which. And then World of Warcraft came out, which was this seismic shift, and I've spent a lot of hours playing all those too.
Takes over people's lives, right? And
oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. So But well, that's kind of cool though. From the outside looking in, that it sounds like a cool industry to be part of. I'm sure like every industry, it's got its advantages and it's not so, great
has
spots.
Its moments.
Right. Well, as we wrap this up, I should probably ask you: is there something I shouldn't, or not shouldn't? Is there something I should have asked that I did not? Let me rephrase that statement. And where can people find more about you and listen to and watch your music and all that?
Well, certainly the chrisklimecky.bandcamp.com is where my entire catalog is, going back to the 90s band that I did 2 albums with there, 3 solo records, the Crystal Monkey Project, and the new solo EP is going to be up there soon. So that's sort of a place, and Bandcamp's great because you can sort of preview stuff. You can get a listen and see if it's to your taste, right? And and all that. And it's also, I find my own artistic evolution just like interesting to look back on, to play those old songs. And so it's a journey, and while it's not one thing for sure, you can sort of hear a common thread. And, folks who know my music and have been following me for a long time and heard a lot, it's like, it's Chris Klimecky. I get it. I hear the common thread, and then you start to understand like how that has shifted, and yet it's still my voice, and I think, coming back to what I believe is the artist being the important thing, not the money, not the show, which is kind of what I mentioned. You're My Star is the new song video coming out. Like that song is sort of an artistic statement. It's like, forget the accoutrements around the music. Like, it's the creation, like that is the interesting, and the thing that if you can find other passionate people around that act of creation and have passion for it, that is just never going to end, right? It's just a part of you. That is a beautiful thing in and of itself. You don't need all the other stuff. It's just sharing that with other people who enjoy it is really like, that's number one to me, and is wholly satisfying. And just it's been a great journey, and I'm enjoying doing more and more. Like I'm starting to get the hang of it, So feel like it's still a learning process, and getting better and better. And I hope people see that as well through the history, that it's like, this Crystal Monkey project, I think, is the best thing I've ever done. And this EP is, going to take, is going to be a next level of my solo work. And, let's keep going from there. I'm excited to see what comes next.
All right. So I should have asked this question earlier on. I got 2 questions for you, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
So how'd you guys come up with the name, the Crystal Monkey Project?
Yeah, that was a mishearing of my name. We had been going as the Crystal Monkey Band, we had been going as the Chris Klimecky Band for a while. And it was actually Rob, who I mentioned earlier, Rob Persall, who is the drummer, and he did a lot of the orchestration and et cetera. He's also in the game industry. He composes, does sound effects and all that kind of thing. He's in a number of bands, and they were just talking about what are you doing next? And Rob was telling him, I've got this Chris Klimecky thing going. And someone was like, what? Crystal Monkey? What are you talking about? What is that? And it's like, oh, that's stuck. That's pretty good. I like that. It sounds like Chris Klimecky, but it's a little different,
It's a little different.
And we wanted to, because this project really, Rob and Mark bring something different to the picture, to the show. And so didn't want to just call it Chris Klimecky Band. It is different from my solo stuff. And so, naming it that seemed like, this is the Crystal Monkey Project. That seemed completely appropriate.
I'm glad I asked it. That's a great story. All right. So any parent in the world will hate this question. if I had to put you on the spot to say somebody could listen to just one of your songs as an introduction to your music.
I thought you were going to go for which album, but okay, one song.
Sorry, man. It's like pick your favorite kid. This is really, I don't mean to put you, but see what I mean? It's like,
So the hard thing about that is it's always the latest. It's always the latest thing, right? And so,
what would be the one if somebody was looking, when they're done listening to me yammer here, and they go online and they push play?
Yeah.
What would be a great introduction to your music?
I think great introduction would be "I'll Find You," and the video for that, especially if you want to look up on YouTube for "I'll Find You." That gives you not only the song, the guitar forward stuff that I really, I enjoy that. That's a fun thing for me. But the video has a little bit of my sense of humor. It has it has a lot of people that I love, and it's got my video game team is in Zoom and a bunch of different things. It's got my family in different parts. It's like it shows my personality, I think, as well as the song just being something I'm real proud of, and I think represents my sound pretty well.
Where can people find you? Where should they be looking to find out more about you? You mentioned Bandcamp, but where else can they find you?
ChrisKlimecky.com is going to give you the whole thing. If that's too hard to spell, Crystal Monkey Project is an easy one to get to, and that will also sort of have the tendrils out to all the other points where you can find me and my music.
And we'll put we'll help out by spelling your name correctly and putting it in a link in the show notes.
I appreciate
we can do our little part for you. Well, Chris, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to continuing to listen through the Crystal Monkey Project. And I'm looking forward to I'm going to constantly now say the Bourbon inspired EP that you're coming, even though it probably has nothing related to that, but that's how I'm going to remember it.
Right on.
I am looking forward to hearing that as well. So,
thank you, Scott. I really appreciate your time and your interest in all this stuff. And really cool what you're doing here. So really appreciate it. Thank
you. Join us next time for another episode of the Exploring Washington State podcast.